My name is Owen, and what happened to me 3 years ago in that lighthouse still keeps me up at night. I'm sharing this because I need people to know. Some places are abandoned for a reason. I was 24 when I decided to take a solo camping trip along the Oregon coast. I'd just gone through a brutal breakup, lost my job, and needed to clear my head. My therapist suggested disconnecting. No phone, no people, just me and nature. Looking back, that was the worst advice I ever took. I'd been hiking for 2 days when I spotted it through the fog. An old lighthouse perched on a rocky cliff, about half a mile from the main trail. It wasn't on my map. The structure looked like it hadn't been used in decades. The paint was peeling, windows shattered, but something about it drew me in. Maybe it was the photographer in me, or maybe it was something else. The door was already open. Not broken down, not forced, just open, like it was waiting. Inside, everything was covered in this thick layer of dust, except for one thing. In the center of the main room, there was a circle on the floor, completely clean. No dust, no debris, just a perfect circle, maybe 6 feet in diameter. I should have left right then, but I didn't. Instead, I set up my sleeping bag in a corner, away from that circle, and decided to spend the night. The sun was setting, and the fog was rolling in thick. I convinced myself I was just being smart, taking shelter. But deep down, I think I knew something was wrong. As darkness fell, I heard it. Pause. A scraping sound coming from above, from the lighthouse tower. Slow, deliberate, like something heavy being dragged across stone. I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it at the spiral staircase leading up. The beam barely cut through the darkness. "Hello," I called out. My voice echoed back, but underneath it, underneath my echo, I heard something else. A whisper. Too faint to make out words, but I heard it. I'm not a coward. I've been in sketchy situations before, but every instinct I had was screaming at me to leave. The problem, the fog outside had become so thick, I could barely see 5 feet in front of me. The cliff edge was somewhere out there in that soup, and one wrong step. So I stayed. I told myself I'd leave at first light. Around midnight, I woke up to find myself standing in a circle. Pause, let that sink in. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember walking. But there I was, dead center, my bare feet on that clean floor. My sleeping bag was still in the corner, exactly where I'd left it. And I wasn't alone. There were others in the circle with me. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. Cold spots surrounding me, pressing in. And the whispers, they were everywhere now, coming from all directions. I tried to move, tried to run, but my legs wouldn't respond. It was like I was frozen, locked in place by invisible hands. Then the scraping from above started again, louder this time, getting closer. Something was coming down those stairs. My flashlight was still in my hand, but when I tried to turn it on, it wouldn't work. The darkness was absolute. The scraping reached the bottom of the stairs. I could hear breathing now, wet, labored breathing, just feet away from me. And then I felt it. Cold fingers, impossibly long, wrapping around my ankle. That's when the paralysis broke. I ran. I didn't care about the fog, didn't care about the cliff. I crashed through that door and into the night, my ankle burning where those fingers had touched me. I ran blindly through the fog, branches whipping my face, rocks tearing at my feet. I ran until my lungs felt like they were on fire, until I collapsed on the trail 3 miles away. When the sun came up, I made my way back to civilization. It took me 6 hours. The ranger station was the first building I reached. I burst in, probably looking insane, and demanded to know about the lighthouse. The ranger, an older guy named Bill, went pale when I described it. "Son," he said, "there hasn't been a lighthouse on that cliff for 30 years. It collapsed in a storm back in '94. Took the lighthouse keeper and his family with it." Pause. They never found the bodies. I pulled up my pant leg to show him where those fingers had grabbed me. The skin was discolored, darkened in a perfect handprint. But that's not what made him step back. It's what was written in the bruise, like someone had pressed the letters into my skin from the inside. 5 words. You stood in our circle. That was 3 years ago. The mark never faded. And every night at midnight, I feel those cold fingers again, wrapping around my ankle. I've moved 4 times. Doesn't matter. They found me once. And I think they're still looking. If you ever see an abandoned lighthouse that's not on any map, keep walking. Some doors are open for a reason. And it's not to let you in. It's to let something out. My name is Claire, and I used to be a forest ranger in the Cascade Mountains. Used to be. After what I experienced during my last shift, I handed in my resignation and never went back. This was 7 months ago, and I still can't sleep without the lights on. I was assigned to Tower 7, one of the most remote fire lookout stations in Washington state. The closest road was 15 miles away, and the nearest town was 40. When you took a shift at Tower 7, you were alone for 2 weeks straight. Just you, the radio, and thousands of acres of absolute wilderness. I'd done it a dozen times before. I loved the isolation, actually. No traffic, no crowds, no noise. Just me and the trees. But that was before the radio calls started. It was day 4 when I first heard it. I was doing my evening perimeter check when the radio crackled to life. At first, it was just static. Then a voice came through, faint but clear. Tower 7, this is Tower 4, do you copy? I grabbed the radio. Tower 7 here, I copy. What's your status, Tower 4? More static. Then, there's something in the trees. It's watching me. My skin prickled. Tower 4 was 60 miles north, manned by a ranger named Frank. I'd met him once during orientation. Serious guy. Not the type to joke around. Tower 4, what do you see? Can you describe it? The static got worse. Through the interference, I heard him say, It's tall. Too tall. And it's smiling. Oh God, why is it smiling? Then nothing. The radio went dead. I tried calling him back. Tried calling base. No response. The radio was working. I could hear the static, the occasional pop of interference. But no one was answering. I told myself it was atmospheric conditions, solar flares, something normal. But my hands were shaking as I locked the tower door. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound outside, every crack of a branch, every rustle of leaves, set my heart racing. I kept the floodlights on and my binoculars trained on the tree line. At 2:47 a.m., I saw it, standing at the edge of the clearing. Just beyond the light was a figure. It was too far to make out details, but I could see the outline. It was impossibly tall, maybe 9, 10 feet, and it was completely still. Just standing there, watching the tower. I grabbed the radio, my voice barely working. Base, this is Tower 7. I have an intruder on site. Please respond. Nothing. I tried again. Anyone, please. I need backup. There's someone outside my tower. The radio crackled. Then Frank's voice came through again. It's not someone, Claire. It's something. And now it knows you're there. Frank, where are you? Are you okay? His voice was different now. Hollow. Empty. I'm in the trees, Claire. Just like you'll be. Just like everyone who sees it. The figure in the clearing took a step forward. Then another. It was moving toward the tower. I killed all the lights, plunging the tower into darkness. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it would break through my ribs. I crawled to the window and peeked out. The figure was closer now, maybe 30 feet from the base of the tower, and I could see its face. It wasn't human. The proportions were all wrong. Eyes too far apart, mouth too wide. And it was smiling. Just like Frank said. A smile that stretched impossibly across its face, showing too many teeth. The tower shook. It was climbing. I could hear the metal groaning, hear the ladder rungs creaking under impossible weight. I backed away from the door, grabbed the emergency flare gun from the supply cabinet. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. The radio crackled again, but it wasn't Frank this time. It was my own voice. "Don't shoot, Claire. You'll only make it angry." That's when I realized the radio was off. I turned it off 5 minutes ago, but it was still talking. The door handle started to turn. Slowly, deliberately, I raised the flare gun, aimed at the door, and fired. The flare punched through the thin metal and exploded outside in a burst of red light. I heard a sound, not quite a scream, more like a shriek mixed with static, and the tower stopped shaking. Silence. I didn't wait to see if it was gone. I grabbed my pack, kicked open the window, and used the emergency ladder to rappel down the opposite side of the tower. I ran through those woods for 6 hours straight, not stopping, not looking back. When the sun came up, I followed a stream to a logging road and flagged down a truck. The driver took me to the ranger station. I told them everything. They sent a team to Tower 7. When they arrived, the tower was empty. My supplies were there, my sleeping bag, everything. But the radio was missing. And on the wall, written in what looked like charcoal, were 5 words. She saw. She told. 5 more. They found Frank 3 days later. He was sitting at the base of Tower 4, staring up at the sky. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't respond to anything. They said he'd been there for over a week, which was impossible because I'd heard him on the radio 4 days ago. When they finally got him to a hospital, he only said one thing, over and over. "I'm in the trees. I'm in the trees. I'm in the trees." I quit the next day, moved to Seattle, got a job in an office building surrounded by people and noise and light. But sometimes, late at night, my phone will crackle with static, and I'll hear my own voice, distant and hollow, saying, "Tower 7, this is Tower 7. I can see you in your apartment. It's watching me watch you." I haven't answered yet, but I know eventually I will, because whatever was in those woods, whatever Frank became, it's patient, and it's still waiting. My name is Tyler, and I'm a freelance journalist specializing in abandoned places. I've explored ghost towns, empty hospitals, forgotten asylums. I thought I'd seen everything. Then I found Ashwood. Or rather, Ashwood found me. It started with an email from an anonymous sender. No name, no return address. Just GPS coordinates and a single sentence. "Find out what happened to us." The coordinates pointed to a location in Nevada, deep in the desert, nowhere near any main roads. When I looked it up, I found nothing. No town, no records, nothing. That should have been my first warning. I drove out there 3 weeks ago. The GPS stopped working about 20 miles from the coordinates, but I'd printed a map, old school. The terrain got rougher. The road became a dirt trail, then just scrub and rocks. I almost turned back a dozen times. Then I saw it. Buildings, dozens of them, perfectly preserved, sitting in a valley between 2 ridges. A complete mining town frozen in time. It was like stepping back into 1952. The cars on the street were vintage models, perfectly maintained. The storefronts had goods in the windows. There was even a diner with plates still on the tables, food long since rotted to dust. But here's the thing. There were no signs of disaster. No fire damage, no structural collapse, no bodies. The people of Ashwood had simply vanished. I started documenting everything, taking photos, notes. The town had a post office, a school, a church, even a small movie theater. In the town hall, I found records. Ashwood was a silver mining operation, founded in 1947. Population 327. The last entry in the logbook was dated August 15th, 1952. It read, "The dig broke through to something. Something old. God help us, we woke it up." The mine entrance was on the north side of town, carved into the rock face. The wooden supports looked ancient, but the tunnel itself was clear. Against every survival instinct I had, I went in. I had to know what they'd found. The tunnel went deep, much deeper than any silver mine should go. The walls were smooth, almost polished, and there were markings, symbols carved into the stone that weren't part of any language I recognized. Half a mile down, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber, and in the center of that chamber was a pit. I couldn't see the bottom, even with my flashlight. It was just darkness, absolute darkness that seemed to swallow the light. But around the pit, carved into the floor, was a perfect circle of symbols, and inside that circle there were belongings, hundreds of them. Wallets, watches, wedding rings, children's toys, all arranged in neat rows like offerings. That's when I understood. The people of Ashwood didn't disappear. They were taken, or they gave themselves, and someone was still leaving offerings. I backed away from the pit, my light sweeping across the chamber walls. That's when I saw them. Names. Thousands of names carved into the stone, covering every surface. I recognized some from the town records, but there were others, names I'd never seen, in languages I didn't know. Some of the carvings looked ancient, and at the very bottom, freshly carved, was my name. Tyler Chun. I ran. I didn't care about documentation, didn't care about the story. I just ran back through that tunnel, my flashlight bouncing, the darkness pressing in from all sides. Behind me, I heard it, a sound like wind, but wrong, like breathing, like something massive drawing breath. I burst out of the mine and into the sunlight. The town looked different now. The cars were rusted. The buildings were starting to collapse. It was like time had caught up all at once, 70 years of decay happening in the hour I'd been underground. I sprinted to my Jeep, fumbling for my keys. The engine turned over on the third try. I threw it into gear and gunned it, rocks and dust flying. In my rearview mirror, I saw the town collapsing in on itself, buildings imploding, the church steeple falling, and in the center of it all, where the mine entrance had been, the ground was opening up. The pit was spreading. I drove for 20 minutes, the Jeep bouncing over the rough terrain, before I realized something was wrong. The landscape wasn't changing. I was passing the same rock formations, the same dead trees. I was driving in a circle. The GPS was working again. It showed my location as Ashwood, right in the center of town. But I wasn't in town. I was miles away. Wasn't I? I pulled over, checked my map. According to the map, I was still in the valley. I looked around. Nothing but empty desert. I looked at my phone. The GPS showed me in Ashwood. I looked at the compass. The needle was spinning wildly, unable to find north. That's when I heard the voice. It came from everywhere and nowhere, a whisper that vibrated through the ground. You took something that wasn't yours. I hadn't taken anything. I'd been careful not to touch. The photograph. I'd picked up a photograph from the town hall. A family portrait dated 1951. It was still in my pocket. I pulled it out, my hand shaking. 5 faces stared back at me. A man, a woman, 3 children. And I swear they weren't smiling in the photo when I first picked it up. But now they were. All of them. Wide, impossible smiles. The voice came again. Return it, or take their place. I threw the photograph on the ground and ran back to the Jeep. This time, when I drove, the landscape changed. The GPS started working. 40 minutes later, I hit the paved road. I didn't stop driving until I reached Las Vegas. That was 3 weeks ago. I tried to find Ashwood again, using the original coordinates. Nothing. Empty desert. I contacted the Nevada Historical Society. Mining records, old newspapers. No one had ever heard of Ashwood. According to every database, it never existed. But I have the photos on my camera. Hundreds of them. Proof. Except the photos are changing. Every day, there's something new in them. A shadow where there wasn't one before. A face in a window. And in the photo of the mine entrance, there's a figure standing there now. It wasn't there when I took the picture. It's getting closer in each photo. Yesterday, it was at the tunnel mouth. This morning, it was halfway down the main street. Tonight, when I checked, it was standing right in front of the camera, looking directly at me. There's a new email in my inbox. Same anonymous sender. No subject line. Just one attachment, a photo I didn't take. It's my apartment. My door. Taken from inside my hallway. And carved into my door. Visible in the photo, but not when I look at the actual door, are words. You kept something else. You kept a memory. Now you belong to US. I can hear scratching at my door. It's 3:47 a.m. The GPS on my phone says I'm in Ashwood. But I'm in my apartment. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm not in Ashwood. I'm not in Ashwood. If you're listening to this, if you find this recording, don't look for Ashwood. Don't look for me. Some places are forgotten for a reason. Some places are hungry. And once they know your name, once you've touched anything that belongs to them, they never let you leave.